Welcome to the Audience Converter Podcast, the podcast for converting your audience from strangers to loyal fans. We dive deep and discuss how entrepreneurs, consultants, and coaches can level up their business to help more people in the world. Now here's your host, the creator of the Audience Conversion Method, Kimberly Weitkamp.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Audience Converter Podcast. I'm Kimberly Weitkamp, your host, conversion copywriter, and marketing strategist. Today, I'm really excited to talk to my guest. I met her at a conference a couple of months ago. I've gotten the chance to work with her, and she does some really, truly amazing things with helping authors get their book done. My guest today is Christine Kloser. She trains entrepreneurs and leaders to write their transformational book. But she doesn't just train people. She's also a USA Today and Wall Street Journal best-selling author, coach, and publisher. And she's helped nearly 80,000 aspiring authors in 127 countries start writing and finish their transformational books. So Christine, I'm really excited to talk with you today, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kimberly. I'm excited to talk with you and hang out here with your audience.
Absolutely. So my first question, of course, is always, how did you get into the book writing area in the first place?
Good question. It was certainly not something I ever thought I'd do. I was never considered a writer growing up. I just wasn't the best student overall. But in 2001, I married my amazing husband. And in 2002, he had this, moment of inspiration where he decided he was going to write a book. He was going to travel around the country, interview Major League Baseball players from all of the Major League Baseball teams, and he was going to, distill their wisdom into these quotes, that helped impart their wisdom, their knowledge, their know-how, like how do you stay positive in a game of failure and all sorts of stuff. So, being a newlywed, I was like, go for it, honey. Sounds amazing. Meanwhile, thinking, this is crazy. He doesn't even know a Major League Baseball player. How's he going to go interview them, right? He liked baseball. He knew the players from TV, but he didn't know them. Well, he proceeded to interview over 300 Major League Baseball players. And I had agreed that I would figure out how to publish his book when it was done. So I figured it out. This was back in 2004 by the time his book was ready to come out and be published. And there was no Kindle. There was no Create Space. Those things didn't exist. So I had to learn old school how to publish a book for him. And if he wasn't my husband, I'm sure I never would have said yes to, figuring out this crazy world called publishing. But I said yes to him. I figured it out. And I thought, as long as I know how to publish a book, I've been wanting to publish one too, but I didn't have the confidence to write a whole book myself. So I got a bunch of women from a networking group that I had founded in Los Angeles. We all wrote a chapter. We did, chicken soup for the soul type of book. It was called Inspiration to Realization, with 40 different women entrepreneurs contributing, including myself. And I'm like, I'll check this book thing off my list and, get back to what I was doing before. But that very first book that I published, within 2 weeks of publishing my husband's book, it ended up getting reviewed in the print edition of Entrepreneur Magazine in the summer of 2005 as one of the best books for women entrepreneurs to read that summer.
Wow. What an accomplishment.
Yeah, for my first book ever, that was quite an accomplishment. And from there, I just kept having women ask me, from my networking group mostly, when's the next one? When's the next one? I want to write a chapter for the next one. And, it flourished from there.
It flourished from there, but you had a nice flourishing starting point too with 300 interviews with MLB members, and then, kind of diving into the really, really, really deep end, being like, well, if you make it happen, I'll figure out how to make it happen. And you did. So congrats on that. That's an amazing start to your authorship journey.
Yeah, there's so much more I could say about that, but yes, because it wasn't a straight shoot to where I am now. There are lots of ups and downs and in betweens, and no straight line for me.
But I there's this kind of misperception, I think, where a lot of people think, oh, it is a straight line for growing your business, right? It's a complete uphill and it's always going to be getting better. But, everyone I talk with, for the most part, it's, yeah, it was up and down and in between and misses here and home runs there, to stick with the baseball metaphor. And I'm out of baseball metaphors now. It's one of those things where, you have to be invested, right? You've got to be a real part of growing your business. And a great part of that, right, is to kind of put into a book what your greatness is and kind of share it with the world. So, on the Audience Converter podcast, it's all about how you can grow and scale your business. So what are some of the benefits of becoming an author in terms of helping your business?
Well, truth be told, I mean, no matter how many videos you might put up on YouTube or how many, CDs you may have sent out in the mail or whatever it is, no matter how many online programs you have, speeches you've given, there is nothing yet in this world to replace the clout and credibility and opportunity that comes along with published authorship. It is still, in a world of podcasts and blogging and all sorts of other avenues and other media, a book is still the gold standard that says, well, not only I am an author, but I am an authority. You can't even spell authority without the word author in it. So it's the gold standard. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, I'll just do this or that. I mean, I have my own podcast, I have my online courses, but this little, book I wrote called The Transformation Quadrant, is impacting people's lives and attracting new clients to my business. And, it's a book that I either give away or sell for $10 on Amazon or I think $2.99 on Kindle, but it has brought tens of thousands of dollars of income into my business. So that's the power of a book for building your audience and growing your business.
Yeah, and you've said some really great things there about how, that it's credibility building, it's clout, it's making you the authority in your space, whatever that space is. But, how do you know what book to write about? How do you know what to put into that book? Because I know, I've listened to your podcast, and everyone listening should listen to the Get Your Book Done podcast, all about the wonderful things to get your book done and interviews with authors that Christine does. And your first episode, you talked about how you spent all of this time and you wrote the wrong book at one point. So how do you decide what the right book is to write?
You promise me and you, Kimberly, and yourself, for all of you listening that want to write a book, that you actually use a tool that I created called the Transformation Quadrant. And the reason why that Transformation Quadrant tool is so important to determine if you are indeed writing the right book or what is the right book is because when I wrote the wrong book, maybe right book, but wrong time back in 2008, I did not have this tool. I didn't know then what I know now. And if you don't look at your book through these 4 particular lenses, we can go into it. We can give you my book for free. Everyone listening today, if you'd like to share that, Kimberly, we can do that. But it's the prequel to the process of writing your book. It is the step 1. It is the first building block of your foundation that's going to ask you, some powerful questions, but questions that if you really investigate them for yourself, and get clarity on them for yourself. I mean, like the subtitle of the book is called, The Transformation Quadrant, How to Blueprint Your Book in 15 Minutes or Less. And I can't tell you how many people have gone through this quadrant and then the entire book lays out for them. But you've got to look through these 4 lenses called the self, the reader, your business, and the world. Those are the 4 quadrants: self, reader, business, and world. So we can go more. We can just tell everyone to go get the book and the workbook for free and dive through it there. But I didn't have that back in 2008 when I wrote my first book. And I discovered this tool in 2011 after losing everything. And when I didn't lose my marriage and I didn't lose my daughter, but I lost my house. I closed my business. I was betrayed by a business partner. I went through bankruptcy. Like a lot of really terrible stuff happened as a result of me writing the wrong book. So when I discovered this tool and have been teaching it, I mean, I've taught it to those 80,000 people over the years. It's an eye opener that changes lives and changes trajectories of businesses and books for sure.
Absolutely. It's such a powerful message and something really important for a lot of people to hear, I think, because for sometimes, we all kind of get distracted, especially entrepreneurs, by the shiny object syndrome, right? And I'll talk with people too, they'll be like, oh, I want to do this, or I want to, chase this marketing platform or chase this one thing. And, then you ask them the why, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. And with this tool that you're talking about, you can make sure that you're creating the right book for the right reasons. And I'd love to dive in a little bit to one of the categories, if you will, because I don't want people to get the whole thing on here, right? We're going to direct them to the book at the end. You can download it for yourself, read through it. But it's so important to anything that you do in growing your business, anything that you invest your time and resources in, you want to make sure that you're doing it the right way. And so having a tool like this to, blueprint your book in 15 minutes would be amazing. So can we touch on, you said four different categories to the quadrant. What were those again?
The self, which I call the S quadrant, the R quadrant, which is the readers, B quadrant is business, and the W quadrant is world.
All right. Well, I've got an idea as to what I think each of those might actually mean, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about the the self quadrant. I think it's really important for everyone to kind of get some clarity for themselves before diving into any project like this. So tell me a little bit more about the self quadrant.
Well, the self quadrant, I feel, is the most powerful, most critical, and most essential to really write a transformational book that's going to transform you in all of these areas: yourself, your business, your readers, and the world. Because when I wrote my book back in 2008, I wasn't clear on this. And I wrote the book for some of the wrong reasons. And it just I built a faulty foundation. So in this self quadrant, the question to ask yourself is, what is the transformation I want for myself as a result of writing this book? Now, this transformation has nothing to do with how you're going to impact lives and your readers. It has nothing to do with how your business is going to transform. That's in the business quadrant. Instead, it has to do more with, who will you be? What will you have claimed? What will you have released? What will you have healed? What will you have owned? Who will you be between, now when you don't have the book written and you're kind of maybe dealing with self-doubt and confusion and struggling with time, and do I really have anything worth saying? And, someone else has written my book already. All these things that happen in others' minds, there's this transition that you will go through as you write it. So by the time that book gets published and you're holding in your hands, you as the author are having a different experience of yourself. The shakiness and the self-doubt is gone and it's replaced with confidence, or the confusion about, who you are and exactly what your message is and who you're here to serve. That dissolves and gets replaced by clarity, right? These are just some of the examples of the sort of transformations. It's not really external. People close to your life might notice wow, there's something different about you, but it's not going to show up, immediately in, the numbers in your business or programs that you offer. It's going to, that transformation in that quadrant is going to show up in terms of how you show up in the world. And that is a game changer for your business. But it's not about the business first. It's about you embodying your true, authentic, most powerful message, your most powerful stance, and owning what it is that you're here to do, how you're here to impact people through your book and through your business, and kind of saying to the world, this is who I am. I'm brilliant. And, here's proof, because my book, I've authored this book and it's real. So that's what the self quadrant is all about. It's this internal change. And I just got to say, Kimberly, I get a front row seat, especially with my clients that work with me, either privately or in my accelerator or select programs, where it's, it's a very close relationship for a length of time. And I swear, you could get me a ticket to the, seventh game of the World Series when your favorite team's winning, and nothing nothing would be as good as a front row seat I have to watching my clients go through this quadrant, this transformation that they experience in this quadrant. They're different people walking out and they're like, wow, like it really happened, So it's, thanks for asking about that one. It's one of my favorites.
Awesome. I'm really glad that I picked the most important one that, I was like, I wonder which one, but I would like to hear more about the self. And, it's such a powerful message about what you're talking about, how, it's giving you that clarity, letting you drop the confusion and gain that confidence, because so much about being in business is just showing up, right? You need to show up as yourself, not show up as someone else or show up what other people kind of think of what you're going to be. So I can tell that you're really passionate about, helping authors get their books done, and the process and the journey and the transformation that they go through while getting that book written. And I want to thank you so much for sharing your passion with us. And before we wrap up here, I do want to ask another question about, it's a long process, right? You have to sit down, you have to write it out, blueprinting it in 15 minutes is amazing, but then of course you actually have to write the book. So what are some of the pitfalls that you think aspiring authors should look out for?
Well, one of the most important things to look out for is not prematurely writing your book. Like, don't just sit down and start writing. Because when people do that, it's almost, if you can imagine a river, you've got all this water flowing. And if that river didn't have banks, the water would just be going everywhere in every direction. It would be a little bit out of control. And just sitting down and starting to write your book without a plan, without structure, without clarity on things like the problem your book is going to solve, the problems that your readers are facing, the process you're going to walk them through, where they start, where they end, who exactly your ideal reader is, like all of these things, they need to be established foundationally first. So that's one of the big pitfalls. Don't just write, because trust me, when you just start writing words everywhere without that container, sometimes those words get so out of control, like that water in that bankless river, that you actually just can't pull it together and turn it into a book. Like, you can't rein in just all of the stuff everywhere. So that's one big thing. And the other big thing, and this kind of speaks to one of the huge challenges that I see happening in the whole publishing and book writing industry right now, is there's this, approach that just find what people want, and write that book for them. And I personally strongly advise against falling into that pitfall, simply because I have seen too many people who have gone through these, writing programs. They're like, well, the coach told me I should write a book on this because it's kind of related to what I do, but that's more popular in the Google searches. And then they write a book that they were coached to write, and
they don't like it.
And the book gets released, and they're like, I don't even want to talk about this book. I don't want to market it. Don't want to go speak about it. I kind of don't even want to tell anyone about it, because that's not what I want to be known for. And this, unfortunately, Kimberly, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's kind of rampant in the industry right now. So
I have seen it, actually. I've met several people who were like, oh yeah, I wrote a book, but I don't even want to give it to you. I know someone who, she brought a bunch of free ones to give away, because she's like, because they're just taking up space and I don't want to sell them, and I just want to get them out of my house because I don't want to see it anymore. And I was like, wow, that's
devastating. And
that's so sad.
It is. And they're spending anywhere from, $15,000 to $50,000 I've seen. And they're ending up with books that they don't even want to show anybody. Like, that's horrendous. So if anyone is coaching you in any capacity, to fall into the pitfall of writing a book based on Google searches, just politely say, thank you, I'll take that in consideration, but then tune in to your own passion. What is your mission? What is your purpose? What is your vision? What are you here to do? What are you here to share? How do you want this book to impact, like that reader quadrant? How do you want to transform lives with this book? And you want it to be a book that you'll be happy talking about 5 years from now, 10 years from now, not something that's going to come out and you're going to hope, disappears from the face of the planet before anyone sees it because you just don't like it. So
right, you don't want to publish something. Right, you don't want to publish something and be like, boy, I hope no one sees it. Boy, I hope no one asks me about that. I don't want to talk about that. Like, that's not the approach you want to take. And, I found what you said so very interesting and relevant to what I do as well about, don't just sit down and start writing, because if you start copywriting, right, without the foundation, if you don't know the audience, if you don't know what your purpose is, if you don't know what problem you're helping to solve, then yeah, you can write something maybe, but is it actually going to do the job you want it to do? Is it actually going to be very useful to the people that you're wanting to reach? The answer is no. So, I mean, putting in that background thought, right? The words on the page that people see, that's like the last step, right? It's all the stuff that they do before. It's all the transformational stuff that you're talking about, and the deep thought and thinking about what you're going to be putting out into the world first. That's so, so important. So, you've got the two pitfalls. Don't just sit down and start writing, and don't base a book off of what other people tell you people want, right? You need to be writing something you're passionate about
now, and that you'll be passionate about for a few years to come, at least.
That's another important thing, right? Is when you're sitting down and doing the kind of work that it takes to write a book, you have to realize that it's a long-term asset. It's a long-term thing that you're going to keep wanting to use forever and ever and ever, right? You don't want to be that person in a year being like, oh, I have a book, but I don't want to give it to you because I'm tired of talking about it, right? You want to have something that you can continue to talk about with passion, just like you're talking about with passion, this transformation quadrant on here.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, I mean, we're here at the audience converter, right? Like, this is about converting people from like looky-loos out there into being valued customers.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do that writing a book you're not passionate about, because then if they come to you for whatever that book was, that wasn't the book, like your signature, your masterpiece, if you will, they're going to come to you. But like, trust me from experience, like, you're not going to want to work with them. And it's
Absolutely.
not going to end well, because you'll be selling your soul to do something that you don't even want to do, that you weren't designed to do. So don't listen to anyone who's telling you to just, write based on what people want. Write based on what you want and how you want to serve. And you'll see amazing things happen in your business and your life, both.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're doing something that you're not passionate about, then not only will you not want to be helping those other people who find you, but they will notice. People know when like they're talking with you in a conversation, and if you're trying to tell them about, oh, this book you wrote, even if you are talking about it, but it's not something you're passionate about, they'll notice that disconnect, and that can break the trust a little bit. It can also break the interest, right, in what you do, because it's clear that you don't like what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. And I mean, it's just not fun. And it is no way to grow a business.
Absolutely
if you're not excited and passionate and solid in what you're writing about, what you're speaking about, and how you're serving people, I mean, you'll do what I did. You'll build the business you don't even want, that you will pull the plug up. Well, if you follow how I did, I mean, I just pulled the plug on it because I'm like, this business is going to kill me, literally, is how it felt. And I don't want that for anyone. So follow your passion, follow your brilliant, like, you're here, you're listening to the show because you want to convert more people. You want to have more of an impact. You want to work more closely with people who you know that you are put here to work with.
Absolutely.
So you don't need 1 million, right? Like, you don't need 1 million. So write your book that's like going to be like this magnet for the right people to come into your business in a deeper way. Because then you'll never work a day in your life. Because it looks like me, I don't work. I really don't feel like I work, unless, of course, I'm doing something technical or learning about social media. But the work I do with my clients, it's not work. It's pure joy. And you want to write the kind of book that's going to bring those clients to you that make you feel like, oh my gosh, I would almost pay you to work with you. I love you so much. And a book can help draw those people to you if you do it right. And the transformation quadrant is the place to start. So please make sure, I don't know how you're going to, promote that, Kimberly. I can share the link. It might be in the show notes. But that is step number 1.
Absolutely. No, I wanted just to say, we've been talking a lot about having that passion and making sure that you're bringing in people that you're passionate to serve, which is also going back to what you talked about, right, with the self quadrant and making sure that you go through that transformation. So Christine, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us today. And if people do want to get in touch with you, first off, let us know where they can download the transformation quadrant and what's the best way to reach out to you.
Well, you can download the Transformation Quadrant, voila, at transformationquadrant.com. You'll opt in there. You'll get a PDF of the book, and you'll also get a PDF of a workbook. So that is probably, the best thing to do. And then if you want to reach out specifically, have any questions, because I have on a publishing company, I have my Get Your Book Done program. There's all sorts of ways we work with people. So just email support@christinekloser.com. That may also be in the show notes too. I'm not sure, but
yes, absolutely.
You can just reach out directly to my team there at support@christinekloser.com. Let us know you heard us on Kimberly's awesome podcast. And, we'll answer any questions, point you to other places, and, find out where you're at, what you might need, and if we can help you write the right book and get it done this year.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me. I had Christine Kloser today on the Audience Converter podcast talking about how to get the right book written and, of course, how to get your book done, which is also the name of her podcast. All of the links that we've mentioned today will be in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Audience Converter podcast. For more information and important links about today's show or for access to our website, visit theaudienceconverter.com. Take a moment to rate and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.